Hi guys, welcome to a special Happy, Sad, Confused Live. I love doing these at 92 NY. I'm Josh Horowitz. Thank you guys so much for coming out tonight. I'm so thrilled. I'm always thrilled with the entire guest list, of course, of Happy, Sad, Confused, but whenever I can get a new guest on the show, someone I've long admired, not to mention a New Yorker in the house, I'm especially pleased. You know my guest as being, let's see, he's been a spy. He's a good friend of Mr. Rogers, also Tom Hanks, maybe both, we'll see tonight. He's a charming Welshman, which I don't think is a role, I think he's actually that in real life. And he is, of course, playing the iconic role, Perry Mason. Season 2 on HBO and HBO Max. I'd love to hear a warm New York City welcome for our own New Yorker, the fantastic, the wonderful, Mr. Matthew Rhys.
Look at this.
Oh, yeah.
Look at this. Thanks. You should think of that as a topical anesthetic.
This is to smooth over.
To ease your pain for the next few minutes.
Really, truly, you have just soared to the top of my guest list by bringing booze
Well,
with
no,
you.
no, let's be fair. You did bring it. I insisted to bring it out. I was like, that won't do. We'll have to bring the bottle.
Shall we sample? Just
Yes,
to get this off to a good start?
Let's cheers to these wonderful people who came out tonight.
Thank you, folks.
Yeah, kid.
Ooh. So this is my first Welsh whiskey, I believe.
Yes. Doesn't it taste like home?
Well, someone's home.
Yeah, yes. Like a damp Sunday afternoon.
Is booze just in the blood out there?
Yes, that and close part harmony singing. That's it. One leads to the other.
Did we get a good brand? I'm not like trying to shill for this brand.
No,
is this
you
the
did.
Right one?
You got the only brand, but no, you did. It's a great whiskey that I love and hold dear to my heart.
Okay. We're going to try and drain the bottle tonight if we
we'll
can.
see if we can make our way to the bottom.
So I mentioned the fact that you are a New Yorker. You've been a New Yorker for some time. How did that happen? How did the pride of Wales become a New Yorker, Matthew Rhys?
Like most things in my life, by mistake, through default. Because I'd been in a place called Los Angeles for quite a few years, and I thought, you know what, I don't think this is for me. It's a little transient. I feel like I've been on vacation for many years, and it's time I left. And then I was literally packing up to go back to London after about 7 years in LA, and I got a call saying, would you like to do an off-Broadway show with Adam Driver, a play, Look Back in Anger? And it was it was a play that meant a lot to me because I'd seen Richard Burton play that part on film in my early years, and it was a kind of seminal performance for me, so I said, yes, absolutely. God, we're really getting to the long answer here.
No, I was going to get to the play anyway, so perfect.
Well,
Let's do it.
lo and behold, I'm doing this play.
I'm going to drink while you talk.
Off-Broadway, yes, this is a long story. Off-Broadway with Adam Driver. He tells me, he goes, I've just done a pilot for this thing called Girls. And I was like, what's that about? And he told me, he was like, that'll never take off. So then one night, a casting director came backstage and she said, I was meant to go and see something on Broadway. They messed up my tickets. I saw this on, I came to see it. I have this project called The Americans. Do you want to come in and read for it? And I was like, oh, yeah, okay. And I went in and it changed my life. Yeah. And here I am, a New Yorker. Still wandering around feeling like I'm in a Scorsese movie. I do.
And do people still treat you like an exotic zoo animal thanks to the accent in Starbucks? Are they like, what is that?
No, yeah, sort of poke me, go, good, get out of here. Yeah, show us your papers. Yeah. No, not really. That's the kind of thing I love about New York.
All are welcome. We're
all are welcome. No one cares what you do as long as you stand up for the right people on the subway.
Exactly. Wait, since you brought up the theater, I did want to actually ask you about that because I looked up that point. Was that the last time you were on stage? By the way?
It was. Yes. It was. Oh, good God! Almost 10 years ago now.
So I found like some clips online. And I could see that like there's like a moment where Adam Driver is like throwing you around, essentially.
Yes, I had no choice in that fight. He could have done what he wanted with me, and many nights he did.
He's a large man.
He's a large man in great shape.
But clear to you that Mutual Admiration Society, that he was a force to be reckoned with then?
Oh, yes. Yeah. In the play, I'm playing Jimmy Porter, who's an Englishman. He plays Cliff, who's a Welshman. And he walked in the first day of rehearsal, and we're talking for a few minutes, and he goes, wait, where are you from? And I said, oh, I'm from Wales. And he went, fuck you.
So I've heard you mention before, like, so you grew up essentially listening to our sad, flat American way of speaking, right?
Yes.
Thanks to television.
Yes, yeah.
Were you watching more of our TV than your own?
That's all we watched. American television was so exotic to us. It's all we watched. It was like you saw things, you're like, oh my God, that looks great. Oh, I wonder what a Twinkie tastes like. You know, that's how you spent your life.
And then you tasted the Twinkie, you're like, never
oh
mind.
my God, yes, what is that? Yeah, it's 18 years old. Yeah.
It's the miracle of Twinkies.
I know.
But it is funny, like, I think in your interviews when I was reading up, nothing is mentioned more often than it's the Americans and the A-Team. I feel like the A-Team seemed to have a clear influence on you as a child.
It was huge. It was huge. My Friday evenings were fish and chips and the A-Team. And that was it. And I was like a pig in poo. I couldn't be happier.
So why do you not sound today like B.A. Baracus?
Because I've had to untrain myself not to sound like Howling Mad Murdoch or The Face or, any of them.
Yeah, your first
Amy.
American words were, I pity the fool.
I pity the fool. And they're like, stop saying that. No one says that. Yes, they do. I've seen it. I've seen the TV show.
The most
And
American
I love
man.
it yes, I love it when a plan comes together. So you must.
Did you come to the States as a child? Like, when was your first time visiting?
No, we didn't. We went to Canada. My parents lived in Canada for a long time, so we sort of got peaked. I went to Niagara Falls. It's the closest I got as a child. It's like, there's the promised land. The first time would have been... So I was doing a play in the West End with Paul Bettany, called One More Wasted Year, which everyone called One More Wasted Evening when they saw it.
Wow.
It was harsh. It was a two-hander. And an American agent came to see it, and he said, have you ever been to LA? Do you want to come? And I was like, I don't think so. And then I was doing a job in New Zealand, and he said, well, look, on the way back, why don't you come to LA, and I'll throw you in some auditions. So I did, and I came, and my first audition was with Julie Taymor. It was Titus,
right.
With Anthony Hopkins and Jessica Lange, and I got it, and I was like, LA's brilliant. You just rock up and get massive movies. And then I didn't get an audition. I didn't get a part for like the next 11 years.
Okay, we're going out of sequence. It wasn't my intention to go back to the beginning, but you're a free spirit. I have to follow where you take me.
Yes.
Let's
like a Celtic sprite.
Exactly. Let's talk a little bit about Perry Mason, then we'll circle back around.
Yes.
The show is back. It's fantastic. Congratulations on the new season. I think we're 4 episodes in.
Yep.
Look, I grew up with Raymond Burr, and that show had its novelties. It's a much different kind of a thing, and as I understand it, that was important to you. When this came around, you had no interest in revisiting what had been done, correct?
No. And they said, there was a slight miscommunication. I got a message saying they want to remake Perry Mason. I was like, you can't remake Perry Mason. That's a ridiculous idea. And then it was explained to me very soon after that it was going to be a reimagining of Perry Mason and an origin story, and I was like, oh, that could be interesting, and it was when I saw the script. Oh, that is interesting.
How much of it is the milieu, the trappings? Because it feels like as much as like any young person grows up wanting to be a cowboy or a superhero or whatever, we also, like any young actor, probably dreams of being like Philip Marlowe and smoking and the fedora and the whole thing.
The Chandler element to me was huge, and in the guys who wrote the first season, they'd really worked on some of the kind of colloquialisms at the time, and it was hard, and we were rehearsing, and they kind of said, you got to stop doing that. And I was like, I got to stop doing what? He's like, you're like doing a terrible Humphrey Bogart impersonation. You're kind of going, now listen here, sweetheart. And you're like, can you just talk normally?
That's how you're talking to the writers.
Yeah. Write me better, see? You don't write me at all. Yeah. So it was hard. It was hard. I kind of had to get myself out of cliches.
Right.
And you're drawn to those cliches in the scenes. You kind of want to finish the moment with a cigarette. They're like, you can't finish every scene with a cigarette flick. And I was like, all right, give me 1 out of 3 then. And sort of, fedora cliches, things like that, drinking cliches. I really had to rein it in.
It does feel like the one thing you're missing is you don't get to do the narration. I feel like that's the...
Yes.
Like, have you campaigned for that?
No, because in my head I am. I was like, God, what's going on in my brain is brilliant. Sorry, is that my line? Yeah.
Do you have any association with Robert Downey Jr.? Because he was long associated with it. I know he's still a producer on the project. Did he have to kind of give you the check mark to take over the role?
Yeah, I think so. You know, I really think it was his project. I think originally he wanted to play Mason a long time ago. This has been 12 years in the development for Team Downey. So that's the name of the production company. So he has a great love of Mason, and it had gone through many kind of different configurations. And I think the plan was for him originally to play Mason more in a kind of like a HBO movie of sorts.
Got it.
And then they were like, you need that real estate, and you know, he's a very busy man. So I was like, I'll do it. If you don't want it, yeah.
And the original intention, as I understand it, was going to be basically a one-off. It was going to be a miniseries.
Yes.
In the making of the first season, was there a sense of like, oh, there might be more here? Like, I mean, the first season ends with, you know, like, it's
Charlie's
interesting.
Angels.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a little bit like with the three of us are in the office going, doo, doo, doo. We'll crack anything, including your walnuts, you know?
So coming off of that Charlie's Angels moment, did you feel like there was more territory to be mined? Or
Yeah, I was like, this is a gold mine. Come on. Start digging, everyone.
Six more seasons, let's do
Yeah,
it.
yes.
That being said, it's a much different kind of, I mean, you have new showrunners. There are some tweaks that you guys have made in terms of tone. I think it's a better season, in all honesty.
Good, yes. You know, the new guys who came in and said, we do want to kind of, there's a few different directions. We want to, you know, try and lighten it, or lighten him a little bit, you know, show different elements of Los Angeles. So, you know, I think the second season can be tricky because you're so kind of elated that you've been green-lit for a second season that you go, oh, what do we do? Do we do the same thing because that worked? Or do we do completely different, then risk losing the audience? So to a degree, bringing in new writers, it's in its way, it's going to be its own beast because they have their own ideas of what they want to do. So there's no real danger of kind of reproducing or trying to replicate something.
I think also a smart thing is that even given that kind of like ending of the first season, he's still, as I've watched the first 4 episodes, he's haunted by the past, he's damaged, he's got a bit of imposter syndrome a bit.
Yeah. It's like any working actor.
Yeah. And then there's the role.
And then there's oh, right, sorry, yes, yeah.
But you're a producer on this.
Yes.
Do you...
I sit at those meetings like this. Talking about imposter syndrome. They're like, what do you think? I'm like, I don't know.
But does it feel like do you want to have is that your first experience producing your own work in this way? And how involved do you like or want to get?
No, you know, Susan Downey, Robert's wife, is kind of the lead producer on it. She's been incredibly inclusive, and she's like, okay, now you have to sit at the table and, you know, you have to have an opinion. Bring some answers and figure it out. And I've loved that. I've loved being part of those conversations very early on about where the story went. You know, character arcs for you know the whole cast, and then being involved in the crewing of it. You know, finding DPs in the casting. The casting process is just heartbreaking and terrifying because you've been there so many times.
Were you in on auditions? Or,
yes,
oh, wow.
Just going, you know, it's just seeing when the nerves get too much, or it's, oh my God, it never ends, that hamster wheel of death.
We actually do have a clip for, I think it's the next episode, and it's Perry doing his thing in court. Let's take a look, shall we?
Look out for when I throw the cigarette at the end.
Yeah, exactly. You always like the murmur from the crowd.
Don't clap, it'll only encourage me.
Have you now spent more time in a fake courtroom or a real courtroom in your life?
I'm starting it's very even. I'm almost been more in the fake courtroom than the real one.
Is there a mugshot out there that exists in Matthew Rhys?
Oh, yes. Drunk and disorderly, yes.
Really?
Yeah, number of breaches of the law.
When were you at your most wild in your youth? What years?
20s, that decade is a solid blur. Some hazy moments.
Was that coinciding with career success
Suicide.
or
Career suicide. Sorry, success.
Well, look, okay, let's talk career. You went to RADA. So
Yep.
so coming out of RADA, did you
Yeah.
think I got this made?
Yeah, you're like, I went to the Royal Academy. Where's my job?
And that's how it happened.
Yes, yeah. And then, well, first of all, I did a lot of theatre in my kind of early days out of drama school. I was very fortunate to kind of go to. I was at the National Theatre, I was at the Royal Court Theatre, the Old Vic, and then at 24, I auditioned for a stage adaptation of The Graduate with Kathleen Turner as my Mrs. Robinson.
Not an intimidating force of nature,
So
Kathleen Turner.
incredibly intimidating. In the kind of the best way, like just this powerhouse Hollywood icon, smoked, drank me under the table.
And we're of similar age. I mean, you grew up with those films, Romancing the Stone, Body Heat, all of that, I'm sure.
I was a mess. In rehearsals, I was a mess, a solid mess. And I remember, like, it was day 2 or 3, and there's this moment where Benjamin kisses, Mrs. Robinson, and I had to I was like, hang on, we haven't spoken about rehearsal etiquette. Like, do you kiss? Do I just lunge in? And so I kind of go up to her and not kiss, and she goes, stop, what are you doing? I was like, and she's like, just kiss me. And I was like, oh, no, it's okay, I'm sorry. I'm just a little bit. She went, come outside. And we went out, she took me out the corridor, and she just went, kiss me. And I went, no, I swear, I'm so sorry. I'm just a bit nervous. We hadn't talked about it. I don't know what to do. She's like, kiss me. I was like, oh, okay, I will. Let's just go back. And she went, kiss me. And I was like, oh. And then just kind of had this total out-of-body moment. I was like, I'm in a corridor of a school because we were using like one of their halls, and I'm kissing Kathleen Turner on the mouth. Things I thought I never would have told my 12-year-old self.
So that's around, by my math, that's around 2000, I believe.
Yes, exactly.
And you mentioned around this time also is when you do Titus, this amazing film directed by Julie Taymor, fellow Welsh actor, the great Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah.
Does he take you under his wing a little bit as a fellow Welshman?
Yes, yeah. I remember this kind of moment where he kind of brought me into the trailer and put on a pot of coffee and just kind of imparted some of his wisdoms, which were kind of very simple. And he's like, just do the basics, learn your words, know them inside out.
I've heard him speak of that. He's kind of like strips all the art of it, like the bullshit out of the way. It's just like...
If you know your words inside out, he says, the most liberating thing you can do. When you see him in The Father, you kind of see it. Like he dances so... the fluidity is mesmerizing because he's not thinking about saying the words. They're in his body. Yeah. And that's very big for him. And he's like, know your words, be early. Be bold, and greater gods will come to your aid.
I mean, there's not a false note that comes out of that man's body.
No.
So, I mean, as you mentioned, there does seem to be a bit of a fallow period leading before Brothers and Sisters, which is arguably the one that really changes your career.
Yeah.
So, in those intermittent years, was there the role you had pinned all your hopes and dreams on? Like, looking back, was there something like an audition that like you thought you had nailed that didn't come to pass?
There was a film, Anton Fuqua film of King Arthur that I was desperate to do, and my roommate got it. He played
Griffith,
Johan Griffith, who's a fantastic actor. And we grew up together in Wales, and he went to RADA as well. And we were both like, have you seen this script for King Arthur? I was like, yeah. And we were both desperate to get it. And he got it, and it was amazing. But I was like, that's the one I really, really wanted. And then I was a year out of work after Titus and the Graduate. I couldn't catch a cold.
So you had a series of well-known Welsh roommates. You also lived with Michael Sheen for a time.
Yeah.
That seems like a dangerous pair.
That was the whole. Like I said, it was the messy 20s, or the roaring 20s, as we called it.
Forget the wine show. That's the reality show that the camera should have been on.
Oh, I dread to think we wouldn't be. We wouldn't. Yeah.
Who was the better roommate? Who was messier? Who had their shit together more or worse?
They're both pretty similar. Like they can both go hard, and then when they need to like turn the switches, like it goes on. They're both very similar in that way. I wouldn't pit one against the other.
Fair enough. Okay, so let's talk Little Brothers and Sisters, because that's a big moment in the career, and it lasts for several years.
Yes.
And it must have been like your first experience with like fandom too, to a degree. With like, I mean,
Yeah.
this wasn't Friends, but it had its core devoted audience
Yeah.
to this day, I'm sure.
Yes, yes. It was actually the last episode of Columbo that took me to Brothers and Sisters.
Right.
Because I got this little BBC job with Bob Hoskins, James Fox, and Peter Falk of Columbo. And at the very end, the very last day, he said, I'm going to do one last Columbo. You want to be in it? And I just thought, oh, he's lying. He was like, yeah, of course. I went, sure, I'd love to. He's like, I'd like you to play the murderer. And I was like, mm-hmm. And then like 3 to 4 weeks later, my agent called. He went, I've just spoken with Peter Falk, Columbo. And I was like, yeah. He goes, he wants you to come to LA to play a villain, a murderer in a Columbo TV movie. And I was like, he's true to his word. Not only that, he called me because he wanted to talk to me about it personally. He called me at my home in Wales. And I could hear my mother going, yes. yes, I do know who you are. Yes, I'll get him for you now. She's like, Columbo's on the phone. It was a very surreal moment. And then, so he got me my visa and my SAG card.
Yeah.
And when I landed at LAX, he picked me up at the, I know, Peter Falk in his beautiful Range Rover. And I was like, I owe that man everything. He's a true prince.
So Peter Falk,
Yes.
Kathleen Turner, all in your impression repertoire.
yeah,
What
yeah.
else makes the cut? What's in your like top 5 celebrity impressions? Now that we've gone
I mean,
there.
I was a bit rough on that Peter Falk. I have to admit, I wasn't prepped for that one.
After a couple too many whiskeys,
One
what
more.
do you bring out? What's the go-to celebrity impression?
I do a very bad Pacino.
Everyone does.
And I know, so you either do
Which
Walken...
Pacino? Like which era? Which?
I don't know. You decide. I don't know. Come on, Josh. You decide.
So it's not the over-the-top sense of a
no,
woman.
it's not.
Yeah, it's not
no,
the hoo-ha.
No, I don't do hoo-ha anymore. I hoo-ha'd in my 20s.
I heard that.
And got
yeah,
arrested
yeah.
for it. Yeah.
You want to reminisce? Let's look at a clip from Brothers and Sisters. Spit take.
Oh,
you don't have to
God.
watch. Let's watch Brothers and Sisters. Here we
I'm
go.
gonna watch in fear.
It's almost obnoxious.
Sometimes I just get lost in his cheekbones.
Did you? You must be proud and happy for your old buddy in Bros. Did you see Bros?
Oh, yes, yeah. He's incredible.
Yeah, amazing.
Kisses like an angel.
We should talk about this show called The Americans.
Yes.
Which is just obviously, I would think, a personal and professional high water mark for you. You get an Emmy out of it. You get a life partner. You get a child. Rank those accomplishments.
Oh God. Well, the Emmy's still not out of the box.
Oh wow.
No.
You seemed very comfortable accepting that Emmy. I watched your speech. You seemed so chill. Like.
Oh, I've never been more like that kind of overwhelming blind panic where you can feel your body shaking because you look out and everyone is famous and you just go and there's a jumbotron. You stand there and the jumbotron goes 45, 44, 43. So you go and so I forget a whole host of people. And then when it goes to 0, they just flash. Stop talking. Stop talking. Don't talk. And you're going, so it's awful.
Is it true that Carrie said not to propose during the speech? Did she warn you not to do that?
No, I sort of made that bit up.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, I'm trying to get a comedy element in.
So in retrospect, like, did you chemistry read with Carrie for
Yes,
that?
yeah.
So that's bizarre to think. You were chemistry reading with your future partner.
Yes, yeah.
To see if you had something.
About three times. And we did this same scene, which is in the pilot, where she slaps me. And the first time, Joe Weisberg, who created the series, former CIA intelligence officer, he said, well, one of the reasons got you the part was when she slapped you that first time, you didn't react. And I was like, because I had no idea it was coming. She wound that thing up from the week before, and it hit me. And I was like, that's why I wasn't reacting. It wasn't because I was like I'm tough in any way. I was just like, I can't feel my teeth.
It seems like a show. Yeah, drink up, please. The
Yes.
hard questions are coming.
Painful memories.
It does seem like the rare show that had an astounding amount of consistency and even built through the years. I mean, you know more than anybody like how critical people are of like finales of shows. The finale was praised.
Yeah.
Did you find that like you were almost shocked in a great way at like how rewarding the material was year in and year out?
Yes, I don't think I have worked with writers who gave a 5-season arc so much thought. Like all they did, Joe and Joel, they would take these huge walks through Brooklyn and they would just talk everything out and then they'd write things down or this is how we want, and they almost, they had the ending and then they worked back retrospectively. And then we did 6 seasons. They're all set for the 5th, and then John Landgraf, head of FX, went, we're going to do 6 seasons. And they went, we don't have 6, we have 5. But in fairness to them, they kind of stretched out when they brought up this fantastic stuff. So really there was 5, and then they were so tight-lipped, well, to me, because they knew I'm like a foghorn. They were so tight-lipped about the ending. I was like, well, how's it going to end? And they were like, shut up, we're not telling you. I'm like, is it like Butch and Sundance at the end? They're like, no, it's not. And so then I remember I was on a train to Washington, and they finally gave me the script and said, don't text anyone, don't tell anyone, try and keep this one under your hat for once. And I read it, and I started to cry on the train. The woman said, are you okay? And I was like, yes, very much so. My series is ending. This is a great ending. I just hope they can clear you too. Yeah.
According to the old trusty IMDb, the fans of this show included the likes of Gary Oldman, David Bowie, and Ben Affleck.
Yes.
Quite a trio.
Yes, incredibly so. Gary Oldman, Kerry worked with him. She did Planet of the Apes with him, and at the time he said he and David Bowie would watch it and then call each other about it, and I said I can die now. Also Pete Townsend, which is why we got to use the music from The Who, and also one of my favorites is Oliver Stone.
Oh gosh,
loved it. Wanted to direct one of the final episodes. Came in, talked to Joe, and everyone was really excited. Oliver Stone's coming in, and he said. One of the first questions, so they said to him, so on average, we shoot around 7 days. And he's like, for what? And they were like, per episode.
Yeah.
And he's like, bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That clocks.
Yeah, he's like, not a chance. And I was, all right.
I always say one of the strangest plane flights I ever had, I sat next to Oliver Stone on a flight to LA. We watched the movie New Year's Eve together on a flight, and it was all the madness you could imagine from an Oliver Stone 5-hour conversation.
Oh my goodness.
What a man. But he delivered, some of the great films of all time. But a madman in the best possible way.
Oh yes, the best sort of madness.
Do people still look, obviously, you and Kerry going strong, you're the pride of Brooklyn now.
Pride of Brooklyn.
Where do you rank in the power Brooklyn couples? Paul Bettany's there, right, I think?
There's that danger, we're in a dangerous square miles, like Paul Bettany, Jennifer Connelly, John Krasinski, Emily Blunt.
Oh, wow, that's a tough one to beat.
It's like Sharks and the Jets every morning. at school drop-off, we're like... I showed Sam, my son, Labyrinth, because he's kind of into all that, and he loved it. He was like, oh my God. And then we walk into school, and we see Jennifer and Paul, and I was like, that's the girl from Labyrinth. And he's like, what? And I was like, that's the girl in Labyrinth. And he went, oh. And she was with Paul Bettany, and he went, is that the Goblin King? And I went, yes, it is. I told Paul, I was like, you're Goblin King / David Bowie,
It's a little known fact, Paul Bettany does call himself the Goblin King. That's his nickname.
Yeah, no, you'll see it in the toilets. GK was here.
Were you a Felicity fan back in the day, and did you have a preference, Ben or Noel, for Felicity?
No, this is all very much new to me during the Americans. When I dived into this, when we shoot outside and all these people would come up to and go, oh my God, Felicity. And so I had to kind of deep dive into that and say embarrassing things like, that's a hell of a wig you wore. Dear God.
That was a very controversial haircut for her.
This is what I've learned. This is what I've learned.
It really
changed America, is what I like to say.
You weaseled your way into one of her works.
Weaseled is correct.
Great works. The unlikely hit, maybe not unlikely. I just watched it the other day. Cocaine Bear, ladies and gentlemen. Matthew Rhys appears.
I like to doff my hat to Universal, who just went, let's take a bit of a swing on this.
Yeah.
Let's take a movie called Cocaine Bear and see how it does. And hats off to Elizabeth Banks. She did, the time and the money she had for that movie, she pulled out a conjuring trick.
It's a crazy movie, and you kind of set the tone, not to ruin anything
I like
for you
to think
guys.
that I do. I like to think that I do. In fairness, that guy needs his own prequel.
Oh, yeah.
Because Andrew Thornton III, if you read his Wikipedia page, you just go, holy God, how does he not have a TV series of his own?
The dance moves on that plane.
All my own stunts.
Is that you in the club? Is that what it looks like?
That's what it used to be like, bit of Elvis circa, Las Vegas Elvis kung fu moves.
Thank you for mentioning Elvis. We didn't go back all the way. This man was Elvis when he was, 17?
He's 17 years old.
Before
youngest.
Austin Butler did his thing.
Yes, pre-Butler. Yeah. Yeah.
What was your Elvis like? What was your interpretation?
Oh, it was pelvis heavy. It was all in the hips.
Was this a school production?
School production. It was what kind of tipped me into the Royal Academy. I was just like, this is not life for me. Yeah, it was kind of, 17. I played him from 17 to, Vegas jumpsuit. I was like, it was a gamut. It was a stretch.
Does that, in relative seriousness, does that give you a different perspective when you watch the movie Elvis? Or are you like, oh wait, I went through that to a degree?
I won't watch that movie.
I
won't watch that movie.
Too close to home?
Too close. It's too close to my heart.
Stole your part.
Yeah.
You auditioned for it,
When I heard Baz Luhrmann was making it, I was like, this is it. This is my chance. And my agent was like, Tom Hanks is playing Colonel Tom, son. I was like, oh, wait, what? Yeah. It was like the moment where, because I'm obsessed with Jaws, and he's like, my agent was like, I got good news. He's like, what? They're going to make the movie of the SS Indianapolis, the speech that Quint in Jaws says about delivering the bomb. I was like, oh my God, amazing. He goes, so I want to put you up for the old captain. I went,
no, the young sailor.
I was like,
the young...
what do you mean the old captain? I want to try out for young Quint. He goes, exactly. He's called young Quint. He goes, you're older now than when Robert Shaw made Jaws. I was like, what?
To be fair, Robert Shaw had a lot of hard living.
That's what I said. I said Robert Shaw looks about 65 in that. I could play young Robert Shaw. Hello? Bastard! Yeah.
I mean, with the way, how high your voice just went, I think you could play a child.
You see? I've always said my range is massive. No one believes me.
Do you... you want me to pour some more?
I'm so sorry. Yes.
Do you resent...
Everyone, yes. Working actors.
Yeah, let's get to the real stuff.
Yeah, come on.
Carrie's been in a Star Wars movie, a Mission Impossible movie.
Yes.
Where's your big franchise,
I'm
buddy?
still waiting. I mean, look how many franchises are out there.
And she's done Planet of the Apes, now that I think about it.
She's done all of them. She's done there's no, yes, I'm going to
Where do you fit in? Is it Fast and the Furious? What's your franchise? What do you want?
I'm literally like this. I'll take any franchise. I'll do any franchise at this point. I'm not proud.
Have you auditioned for a superhero? Have you, what's the most embarrassing audition story you can give me? Don't go all the way back to King Arthur. Give me something. What do you got?
So after I did Titus and I went back to LA thinking, right, I'll just get another big, Hollywood film. It's great. So nothing. But so we would go back for pilot season every year. And then one year, Sylvester Stallone was producing a pilot. And I went in, and when you do it for network, you do about 7 or 8 auditions for different producers, and it gets crazy. And then, so you're going to network, which is when you're in front of all the network producers. So everyone gets very stressed out. And you work with a casting director, you work with an acting coach. There's about 4 or 5 of you left, and you working for an afternoon. And then they were like, Sylvester's gonna come in and talk to you. You're like, oh my God, Rocky's coming in. And he came in one at a time, to speak individually with us. And so I've done all this work. It's very, very, very quiet, kind of, contemplative piece, and very understated and subtle. And he comes in, he's looking at my resume, he's like, you do theater? And I'm like, yeah, I do. He goes, let me hear you shout at her. And I was like, yes, I could shout at her. It's not quite the piece. He's like, use your lungs, shout at her, right? So then, and this is literally just before you go into auditions. So and now I'm like, what do I do? Like, he's the producer who's told me what to do. I've rehearsed it one way, so I go in, and when you just half-ass two things in your mind at the same time, and then your third eye's going, this is terrible. And you can slightly see Stallone kind of going, you're not really shouting, and then you can see all the other acting people going, what's he doing? This isn't what we rehearsed. And it was a very important Hollywood story for me. The worst audition was having to audition to play. We call them pot noodles in the UK. Okay. It's like, instant noodles. Uh-huh. And they're like, you're a pot of noodles. And you're like, what? How do you, like you're like a crazy pot of noodles. You're like, oh my God. That was the most demeaning moment of my life.
Did you, before tonight?
This ranks highly.
Yeah. Did you have to audition for Spielberg? You were in the post.
No. Well, Spielberg was a producer on... that was another weird moment. He was one of the producers on The Americans, and he said, come in and have a meeting. I'm going to talk about this movie I'm doing called The Post with Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep. And you're like, oh. So he's telling me all about this part, Daniel Ellsberg, and then right in the middle of the meeting, he just goes like this. He goes, anyway, I want you to play the part, right? And I had that moment where I go, I'm not sure if he said, I want you to play the part, right? So I can't go, I'm so sorry, Mr. Spielberg, could you say that again, right? So I'm sitting there going, and these two producers next to him kind of going, oh, he doesn't seem that happy about it, because I'm just like this. And then he finishes it, and I go, oh, thanks very much, thanks, bye. And I walk out, the producer walks me out, she goes, is everything okay? And I was like, did he say he wants me to? She goes, yes! And I went, oh! That was my moment to stand up and cry and hug him and do the speech from Jaws. And then he was like...
Are you looking for a young Quint?
Like, yeah. He's like, stop doing it, it's Quint, what are you doing? Y'all know me, know how I make a living, yeah.
Why Jaws? I mean, this is a stupid question. Why Jaws? Jaws is a perfect movie.
I don't know. It was just one of those movies that just catches you. You go, oh my God. It's like one of those, it's just one of those visceral moments when I was young and you see a movie that you can't quite believe, that it moves you in such a way you're going, oh my God, what's going to happen next? It's like, to me, the perfect movie. And it's just stayed with me in that way. It's one of those rare, that and The Princess Bride, if it's on TV, if they're on TV, you're like, right, that's it, cancel everything, we're in.
It is a short list of perfect movies. Those two are on the list.
Yeah.
They are. There's no fat on the bone. It's perfect, right?
Yeah.
Every scene is perfect.
I'm very proud. My 6-year-old has started going, see? The cliffs of insanity! And saying things like, inconceivable. And I'm like, don't be an actor. Yeah.
Is it true you speak to your child in Welsh?
It is, yeah. I was raised as a first language Welsh speaker. And it's a big, I think, it is a big deal in Wales. It was a threatened language, and our parents really fought in the 80s for it to be recognized as an official language, even though it's one of the oldest in Europe. So it's something very intrinsic, for me, for his upbringing, for him to have, to be the only person in Brooklyn who can speak Welsh.
And it's a way to keep secrets from your partner, from Carrie.
Well, no, I thought so. I did think so, but her Welsh is far better than I thought, so that's ended badly a few times.
We have some audience questions, but before we get to that, I've got the Happy, Sad, Confused per Family random questionnaire. You ready for some random stuff? As if what I've done before hasn't been random.
I live my life randomly, yes.
What's the wallpaper on your phone, Matthew Rhys?
Oh, God. It's something very pedestrian. I don't think I have wallpaper. No, I don't. Look, it's still factory settings.
Oh, no.
Yep. Yes.
That's
my family mean nothing to me.
There's no inner soul. There's nothing there.
There's nothing. This is like me. Nothing.
What is...
Because I'm the person giving to the 15-year-old going, how do I change this?
No.
What is that? I don't speak that language.
Okay, here, backstage we're going to put Quint on at least. We're going to do that, okay?
That would be good. Okay. Yeah.
Great. Favorite adult beverage? It'll be close. What do we got?
I think it's a toss-up. I mean, Penderyn for special occasions is between Guinness and red wine.
Never both.
Sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
All right.
Guinness.
Let's see. James Bond or Doctor Who?
Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that could be your skill set. This is the role to manifest.
Yes. Who? Doctor Who? Yeah. Yeah.
If they came calling,
Yes.
interested?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I did audition, before Daniel Craig, a number of us were invited to interview the Broccolis, and I was invited to go in the Broccoli offices, which look out over Hyde Park. Unbelievable. We were told to put on a nice dark suit and to read Casino Royale. And so in I go, like everyone is outside just like, oh my God, this is the life-changing audition. And I go and I sit down, and the first question is like, what would you do differently with James Bond? And I went, huh? I was like, that question hadn't even crossed my mind because I thought, it's a trick question.
Right.
If we say something very different, they were like, or if you say, are they looking for the person who's going to do something entirely different?
Right.
So like, as a joke, I was like, limp? Crickets. And then I tried again. I was like, eye patch. And then I was like,
you're doubling down. You're going in. Yeah.
Anyway, nice to meet you. Yeah, thank you so much. This is a great office. Great office. Daniel Craig's outside. He's great. Yeah.
What a great story, though. Did you practice your James Bond in the mirror prior to that meeting?
Yes, because Johan, my flatmate, also was doing the same. We're all, two pair of us are in the bathroom going, James Bond. Right, stop impersonating Connery. That's the last thing we should be doing. Yes, very nice to meet you too. Yeah.
Oh, man.
I know.
Let's see. Tattoos, yay, nay?
Can't show you.
Okay, well, I wasn't, okay.
Yes.
You have some?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I just like to say that.
Okay. What's the worst note a director has ever given you or could give you?
Don't do anything with your face. In fact, stop moving your face. You're like, Another great one was, it was a I was going to say a foreign director. I'm foreign. I'm the foreigner here. Yes. And he was like, he was arguing with another actor. And he was like, you think I know fuck nothing, but I know fuck all. I was like,
I mean, that's a James Bond villain.
yeah, I was like, that's what I should have done. Forget Bond, I want to do the villain. Yes. I know how I'll play it.
Who's the last big-time movie star you texted? Who do you text? Who would name drop? Come on.
A big one?
Yeah, give
Hanks.
us. Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't text back though. Hello, Father.
Is still you?
Are you still using this number? I love you.
In the spirit of happy, sad, confused, who's an actor that makes you happy?
Robert Shaw.
What's a movie that makes you sad?
Kramer versus Kramer.
That's a good one. What's a food that makes you confused?
Spaghetti.
What?
It's a joke. I'm like, how do I start on this?
Where to begin?
I don't know. I'm a great lover of food, so nothing. It doesn't confuse me. I might say it's a challenge. In fact, there's nothing that's really confused me. I was in one of my greatest indulgences were always to take long horse trips in strange places. The most confused I've ever been was I was in Mongolia on a big horse trip, and we would ride from kind of, we were all kind of following nomadic herdsmen, and we would ride, and they would set up a camp, and then we'd go in and stay the night with them. And this guy, this one guy, we just came in, it was freezing, it was snowing, and he puts this metal bowl in front of me. And I was like, what is that? And it was kind of a bit like yogurt, a bit like custard. There's a lot of kind of horse hair or I thought like animal hair in it. And they give me a spoon and they go, and I was like, are they telling me to eat it or do what? So I just go back and went, thanks. And I was like, oh my God, what is that? And then they're like, go, and they're like, I was like, is it milk? Is it curdled milk? And they were like, and then they explained to me it was like the first milk, when a cow calves, they take the first milk and they let it set, and then they just kind of eat it like a custard, except there was so much hair in it. I was like, And then I followed it with mare's milk, arak, mare's milk. That was a tough day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then a warm beer. They gave me a warm beer.
Oof.
Bless them, they were so hospitable. They warmed the beer. I was like, I was washing it down with like a hot Heineken going.
Some audience questions. Aaron wants to know, when reading a pilot script, what do you look for on the page? What do you respond to?
Oh, very, very, first thing, where does it shoot? When does it shoot? Yeah, no, what do I look for on the title page? What was the question?
In the script, like what do you respond to?
Oh, I don't read the script, I just turn up. Yes. I mean, all the
look for your name.
I mean, the thing that's always for me is like, how much do I want to get to the last page? I'm always like, if I'm in, I'm kind of in. So that's always like, is the kind of, Spielberg always says, when I'm reading something, is it the thing I as a person would want to watch? And I totally agree with him. If it's the kind of thing you go, oh my God, I would love to see this, then inevitably I'm in. If it's not that great, then I'll ask, where does it shoot? Who's catering? Yeah, things like that.
Will there be curded warm beer?
Yes, there arak?
Yeah, exactly.
And a hot Heineken.
Let's see, John wants to know, I grew up on Raymond Burr's Perry Mason. Did his performance influence your interpretation of the role? If so, how?
It didn't, and you know, the show was big in the UK, but I had no real memory of it. You know, I can't name any episodes or any famous guest stars who broke down on the stand or confessed. And I very, very deliberately didn't go back. Because there's been a couple of instances, The Graduate being one, where I did go back, and then inevitably, I know myself too well, I just will imitate and copy and steal. And things like The Graduate, you can't steal from The Graduate, because people are like, that's in the film, you thief. Yeah. Make up your own performance. Dustin Hoffman came to see it. And that was my introduction to kind of when famous people go to see plays, to see other famous people they don't know. Because I didn't know. Like, all these famous people come to see Kathleen Turner. And I was like, I didn't know you knew all these people. She goes, I don't. They come around afterwards and say congratulations. Like, but you don't know them.
You're in the secret club now.
Here's the secret code. It's a club.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. And she'd very kindly invite me in to kind of meet all these people. And then, I don't know why he did this. Company manager one day, we're literally about to go on, he went, Dustin Hoffman is in. And I was like, what? It was a matinee. So then we all kind of huddle afterwards, waiting for him. Not actually, but kind of around the corner, waiting for like, Miss Turner, you have a didn't come. I was like, oh, he must have hated it. Or he must have seen the bits where I nicked from his performance. He was like, that was my performance.
So there's no closure on that to this day?
Open-ended. If I ever see him, I'll be like, what was it, Dustin? Yeah.
Come on.
What was it? Yeah, you couldn't come around and just say one congratulations, even to Kathleen.
I'm walking here.
Yeah.
Tony wants
Count cards.
Tony wants to know, what is Perry's motivating drive? Justice, compassion, a desire to stick it to people in power? In your mind, what's the driving force? What guides the performance?
It is justice, and I always thought I like to think it's a far simpler take for Mason, that things are just ultimately right. In fact, it came from a line in the first season where he goes, "There's what's right and there's what's wrong," and then there's how you go about it. So that's what I love about Mason. His life lives in the mess and the grey, but the things that are very clear to him is when something is right and when something is wrong. And when it's wrong and it should be righted, then you have to do something about it. I love his simplicity in that respect.
Stephen wants to know, Perry seems to be in a lot of dangerous situations, chases, horses, motorcycles. Do you see him as a secret thrill seeker, a reckless fatalist?
Kind of a little bit of everything. He was in the Origin. They made him a First World War veteran. So in that respect, he's seen a number of things that I think some of the situations he's now in don't really bother him that much. And I think in this season, they wanted to kind of see elements. They were like, what does Mason like? Where do we see his private moments? Where's his escape? We've done the booze, But like, where's and the motorbike that came of that was like, where's these private moments where he feels a moment of peace or freedom or whatever. And then the horses, they were like, what do you want to do? I was like, I want to get back on a horse. And they were like, all right. So they wrote.
You seem very happy in that scene I just saw. There was a lot of like unbridled happiness.
On the horse?
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to own horses in LA and ride them around Griffith Park. So they very kindly wrote that scene, all the trails I used to ride.
Gotta use your producer power for good.
Yeah, put me on a horse. And bring another 2 of these. Yeah.
What's on the list for season 3 if we get one?
We don't know. So we wait now until all 8 have aired, and then the numbers come in, and then, the calculators come out, and they see whether it's worth making a 3rd season.
Right. And I want to mention Extrapolations, which is a series that is important on a number of levels because my wife's here who works at an environmental group, and it's obviously, I don't want to spoil anything, but he has a memorable, pivotal role in the series.
Well, that's what I told you. It's pivotal.
It is a pivotal role.
Yeah.
What's the motivating factor to get involved in something like that? That's got Meryl, this amazing ensemble cast.
Well, I was very fortunate to know it's a show on Apple at the moment called Extrapolations. The writer-creator Scott Burns is a very old friend of mine, and who is heavily devoted to using this medium to try and push these environmental issues, and it was a tough sell, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
You went to all the streamers with this show, and they're like, "Oh, it's a bit dark, isn't it?" And he's like, "Yep, yep, yeah. Oh, sorry, yeah, just needs a song." Yeah. And he was like, "Look, I'd love it if you came aboard on this," and I was like, "Who else is in it?" No. Streep? Oh, yeah. No, I was in as soon as he said, I love his writing and I love what he fights for, so I was in immediately.
So where is the song and dance? Have you ever
They cut that out,
Well, going forward, have you ever sung on camera? Is that an interest?
No, God, no. They're trained professionals who do that, and I leave it to them.
Karaoke nights in the shower?
Oh, yeah, karaoke. So, Tom Jones gets a thorough outing on karaoke.
Is there like a little bit of a Welsh club? Like, do you like tutor Taron Egerton? Like, oh, you're the next guy. We gotta.
Well, no. The first time I met Taron, he's like up for every award under the sun. I was like, oh, you're doing all right, I was like, anything for me? Yeah. Yeah.
I auditioned for James Bond.
Yeah, come back. We're both Welsh. Yeah. Yeah. There's a great number of them doing incredibly well. So they need nothing from me. But we're a small nation who kind of rally together, and it's those nations who sometimes, when you got neighbours like England, you need to shout louder to make yourself heard and identified. So we tend to be a bit raucous.
Well, if you hear a couple people speaking Welsh in Brooklyn, it's either this guy or his son, basically.
So yeah. Your guesses would be pretty accurate, I'd imagine.
And finally, I feel like this is the only conversation you've ever had where the boat isn't mentioned. We should mention it at least once.
I know, I'm a terrible. Yeah,
it's kind of a fascinating story. If you guys don't know, on a late night, I don't know if there was booze involved.
It was this exact brand of whiskey.
So you're trolling the internet. Yeah, you're looking around
at old boats, which is what I would like to do. Grew up, sailing a bit, and then
next thing you know,
and a bit of a Hemingway fan, and then I see this old Wheeler Playmate on eBay, and I'm like, oh my God, it's the same class that Hemingway had. Pilar, they were built in Brooklyn in the 30s, and I go, and then I saw she was named in 1939. She was named Rabbit, like Welsh Rabbit. I was like, this is fated. I must buy an ancient old wooden boat and restore it to its former glory. Wake up, darling, I've got a great idea.
How many other stories like that are there of things you've purchased that didn't work out?
That's where I begun and ended that kind of madness, because it was a 3.5 year restoration, and we put her in the New York Harbor last summer, and she's now available for charter. You can charter her and take her out.
This guy could show up. You never know.
I've done several. When we lose the deckhand, I'm like, I'm in, put me in, and I make rarebits with a blowtorch, and it's madness. It's a wonder we're still alive.
All right, I might sign up and bring one of these bottles with me.
Bring one. We'll never make it home alive.
It's been a pleasure. It's a shame. Look, he's a talented actor, but he's not a charming individual, as you can tell.
Whiskey.
It helps everything, right?
Yep.
Enjoy the new season if you haven't already. Perry Mason is fantastic. It's on HBO and HBO Max. It's right. I guess we're right at the midpoint right now, so check it out if you haven't already. And please give it up one more time. Our first-time guest on Happy, Sad, Confused, the wonderful Mr. Matthew Rhys. We did it.
Cheers.
Cheers.